be on hand when you edit this thing, if that's possible.
Okay.
I mean, not
Not
continually,
all.
but I mean, yeah, just to see how.
That's gonna be
how
hours
it's
and
done.
hours and hours.
You know, I just wonder whether, I looked
Don't
like,
move too much.
well, it looks like I'm kinda out of picture here.
No, you're fine.
How about over here? Is Diane in there?
Yeah,
Okay, then you're in there too.
we're good. I think we've been staying all right that way.
I got something in my eye now.
Yeah, you can be there. I mean,
What do you do at
you're not
school?
gonna want to be there for the whole
No,
6 million hours. It's
no, I'm
gonna
just
take.
curious to see how it goes. No, I'm glad you got all that job. Yeah, I got something in my eye.
For every hour we shoot, that's about 5 hours of work for me.
I can believe it.
That's okay though.
I can believe it. Well, where were we?
Well, you kind of went off there. I was just asking you some general questions. That's why I like asking. I like how you just go and just follow streams of thought because.
Never run down.
But it's such good information, and that's the kind of stuff that we need.
Well, good. All right.
You know what I mean?
Well, I agree with you. It's
And I know, and you mentioned a couple. You know, you said that you digressed, but it's better that way
yeah,
because then
puts a little spice in it.
well, not just that, but it
Change
keeps
of
it
pace.
keeps things in context too.
Yeah.
Because then we know what you're talking about and when it happened and those kind of things.
True.
So
Well, let's see. Where did we leave off? Boy, excuse me just a
well, I wasn't really sure the direction you were going.
Well, can you remember what the last
Oh,
remarks I made?
Well, you were just talking about that, about church, really. You were
Oh
talking
yeah,
about
church. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
That you would go. Well, you were talking about you would go to church when you were back at Rock Island.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
You would go to church occasionally,
that's right.
and well, that brings up a good question. Your first, I'm assume, correct me if I'm wrong, your first experience with Mormons would have been Grandma's family.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah, the first experience I had with Mormonism was being at their house, visiting with Helen, and they have a little church meeting going on in the house. And they'd walk in, and I would be introduced to them as they went in, and Helen wouldn't go in with them, but she'd stay with me. But anyhow, I didn't pay much attention to what was going on inside. But anyhow, I knew what that was. He was the president of the ward, or the branch in Springfield. The only cigar-smoking president of a branch in the whole Mormon religion.
He smoked a cigar.
Yeah, he said he'd be president, but he wasn't going to quit his smoking cigars.
And they needed a president.
They needed a president. He was a good one. He was a great man. He was really a fine man. I loved him. And so anyhow, that was my first indoctrination. But I paid no attention. It was just people going in and talking, and I paid no attention. I'm busy with Helen, on the porch talking on what we were talking about. But and I knew where their meeting place was in a hall over a saloon.
Oh.
So
That's the only place they
I
could
could,
get.
well, as a matter, I was just going to say you can imagine how it smelled. I was told how it smelled. You could smell the beer and everything else up there from the saloon downstairs. But it was the only thing available, I guess. But anyhow, he was a great guy. And so anyhow, then my next introduction to it was after we were married, and like going over to Rock Island, as I mentioned. And so our attendance at churches were spasmodic, and more Sundays we didn't go than Sundays we did go. And I think she would have preferred to go, more often, perhaps all the time, but it never happened until we lived, till we moved in Sunset Canyon, where the church was next door. I think I've already mentioned this, and then
Yeah.
the kids went, and she didn't go for it. Finally, she started going. She became very active in the church, and that didn't bother me too much either, because I was busy. I was busy shoveling the dirt. I imagine it was a little embarrassing for her up there at church, and here's her husband down there shoveling dirt. But anyhow, as the kids grew older, they got interested in mutual funds, or mutual. And that is those days, I understand it's changed, but in those days, mutual was a fun type activity. It was on Tuesday night, and they had dances, or they had plays, or they had some sort of recreation. And so we lived right next door to the church, so anytime there was something up there and the kids were active in it, our kids, and so they'd be over at the house, you know, and Daddy, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? Well, pretty soon I became very active in those mutual things. I put on a couple plays for them, and emceed a couple things for them, and everything else. And so I got to know the people over there, and they got to know me quite well.
Yeah.
And I liked the one bishop. One bishop was there. We put on I don't know, this is long before your time, but there was a Ralph Edwards This Is Your Life show on TV. Ralph Edwards was the MC, and he would take some notable character, and he would be the high spot, and then he wouldn't know that he would come on the stage not knowing what was going on, not knowing that anything was going on, and then they'd put him in this chair, say, "This is your life," and bring in all these people from in his life, from way back, his school teachers and all of this stuff and everything else. So anyhow, when this particular bishop that I thought so much of and his first and second counselor were being replaced, we had a "This Is Your Life" show for them, and I was Ralph Edwards.
Oh.
And it went over great. It really did. We got all these people we had 3 times as many, because we had not only the bishops, but we had first and second counselors, friends and relatives,
right,
and everything else. So it was a long show, but it went over pretty great. And I enjoyed doing it very much. And the kids loved it. And whenever they had a problem, they had 2 guys to call on. I would help with the show itself, and then there was another guy that did the carpentry work, but made the sets and everything else. We were indispensable for the programs up there. And so anyhow, the marriage was getting rockier. And so I decided that I would join the church. The church people up there were pretty nice. They wanted me to be it, and they said, "Boy, you would make a good bishop. You know, they tell me things like that." And but they wouldn't push me, you know. And in fact, I invited missionaries that were in the area. I said, "Come on, sell me," you know. And though they did. And my friends, like Mark Ross, which I loved, a great friend. He was a Mormon. He had his days away from the church. He was raised in the family, or his family was Mormon. Then he broke away from it. He had been away from several years. Then he went back into the church again, and became a very good Mormon. He got into several of the chairs, you know, important posts in the church. And I still write to him, and we call each other once in a while. He lives up in Utah, Orem. And so anyhow, I'd talk to Mark at length about the church, you know, because he was my kind of person. He was outside of it, so he could see my point of view.
Right.
But they never put any pressure on me. But so anyhow, I just thought of by myself, that maybe I would try joining the church. Maybe that would help the family situation. And so, why, I was welcomed with open arms, you know. Even though they knew, and I had said time and time again that, you know, I can't go subscribe to the theological fathers. But anyhow, they probably felt like I did, that nothing could be served by keeping me out, because I didn't quite concur with everything that they believed.
Right.
Where a lot of things could be bettered if I did get in the church, you know, because first of all, it might help the marriage. They knew the marriage was rocky. And furthermore, I might become a little more interested in doing more things in the church, and probably it'd become part of my blood, you know, which often happens.
Right.
And I thought, so what? I mean, if it becomes part of my blood, I'm willing. I see nothing wrong with it. It's just that I don't believe in it at the moment, you know. So I joined the church. And I went through the, no, I was going to say I went through the Aaronic priesthood. No, I didn't get that far. I didn't get through the Aaronic priesthood. I went to church every Sunday and as an Aaronic priest. I was little kids. I was about the only old guy in the bunch. And I would have kept that up probably a little bit longer. But I had, the guy that was teaching the Aaronic priesthood was a former retired fire captain for the Burbank Police Department, or Fire Department. And he was a nice guy, and his son had helped me when I put the additions on the house. He came up and worked for me, and I liked him and the older man. So when I first went up there, I was delighted that he was leading the class, because that's just great. But the thing that bothered me, I was smoking cigarettes then. Every time after class, he'd come over and put his arm around me. How are we doing with the cigarettes? And I'd say, well, I'd make some excuse, you know. I don't know what I said now. But it aggravated me. I mean, is that all he wants? Is that the only reason he wants me here, to get me to quit smoking? You know, it sounded that way. It sounded like all of this is to get me out of smoking. And that went on for regularly. Every Sunday I was there. And so, boy, I got so that I said, I can't think of his name, but I thought, well, I'll tell you, I'm not doing so well with cigarettes. But I'll tell you, I quit beating my wife, and I'm not raping any kids anymore. That's what I was ready to tell him that if he ever said it again. But anyhow, I quit.
You didn't give him a chance.
Huh?
You didn't give him a
No,
chance.
I didn't give him a chance. I quit. Well, I'd gone there long enough to know that it wasn't doing the marriage any good either. So I just he's the one that got me out of it. Somebody should have told him and laid off. Because if I'd have gotten into the church and you became a responsible member of the church, I'd have quit smoking. But he just wasn't willing to wait. He just wanted me to quit smoking first.
Right.
Well, I guess that's what the religion says. You can't smoke if you're a member.
That's
And so he was just going by the rules.
Yeah.
But he was a nice man otherwise.
Did well? You mentioned that you went through a sort of spiritual period, I guess, for lack of a better term, when you left for a year.
Yeah.
And you said you prayed every day or
Well,
every night or whatever.
I did that too, in hopes that I could turn the marriage around. I don't know
that's
how.
a personal thing. I mean that.
Oh, absolutely, it was a personal thing.
You didn't tell Grandma that you were praying every night, or did you? Or
I don't know whether I ever told her. I don't know whether I ever told her. I might have, because in some senses, I had to defend myself. She probably thought I was doing nothing to keep the marriage together. And, but that was my main interest. I mean, I got 4 kids there. I didn't want to split up a marriage. And I could put up with a lot in order to get it to work, but I couldn't put up quite as much as way it was.
Right.
And so I could well see that somewhere along the line I would be accused by her of not doing anything for the marriage, and I would reply, I got down on my bathtub every night and prayed for a year for our marriage. I can see myself telling her that, to let her know that, yes, I have been doing something. So I could have told her that. I haven't told a lot of people that, but now all of my progeny is going to know about it, aren't they?
They are. Did what was your impetus behind that? I mean, I know it was to save the marriage, but what made you? I don't know what. You know what I'm trying to say? Why did you? I assume you probably, I don't know. Doesn't seem like you were probably in the habit of praying.
No, I didn't know how to pray. I
I
remember.
mean, why did that occur to you as a way to?
Well, because everybody says, the church and everybody, when you're in trouble, pray. Talk to the Lord. It'll either solve your problems for you. You know, you say that, don't you? You believe that?
I don't believe it'll solve your problem.
Well, I know, but I mean, isn't that one thing you do when you're in trouble? You pray.
Sure.
All right. In this family, a lot of people pray and so it rubbed off on me. So I thought that might be the answer. I didn't know it'd be the answer, but I don't know. I don't think God ever heard from a guy as crazy as I was. I talked to him like a friend, you know. I just
Always into how you're supposed to.
bare my heart to him, you know, and hope that he heard. I don't know if it did or not. It didn't help much.
Well, how did it help you though? I mean, if you kept it up for a year, that must have been doing something for you.
Well, maybe that's stretching it. I don't think I kept it up for a year. But I know I did it for several months because I knew this. I said, look, you're so far away from God and everything that He represents that you've got to give it a chance. You can't pray tonight and hope everything. You're gonna have to let Him know that you're sincere, that you're trying, you know. And so I gave it a shot. I'll tell you that. I don't know how long. Maybe not a year, but several months. And so I looked forward to it. I think whether there's a God there or not, it's this humbleness that goes with prayer. That you are recognizing that you're not the top of the heap, you know. It makes you feel good, I guess. I mean, it's like you can lay off all your troubles on somebody else. I don't know what it was. But I got some good feelings out of it, but it didn't help the cause. So, is that enough for now?
That was good.
Okay.
Since I'd like to kind of, I appreciate you doing this, and
Well, you better.
and I have a really good feeling that other people will appreciate it.
Well,
And I think, I mean, I imagine a lot of the stuff you said today you haven't written,
no, that's true.
and you may not have even been planning to. And so I appreciate it for that,
Well,
from that standpoint.
I don't know whether I'm planning to or not. That's the other day we were talking on the same subject, and I said some of these things, or I guess it was earlier today, some of these things may never make print. Some will be printed reluctantly, and some will be printed right out in the open, you know. Some of the things that I'm not so proud of.
Well, can I say something?
Yeah.
My point isn't to try and get things out of you that you're not proud of, and I do want you to understand that.
Yeah. Okay, I understand.
I'm not trying to make this colorful or anything like that. It fascinates me. Besides, your life and things like that fascinate me, but being in your position fascinates me.
Mm-hmm.
As far as you have this enormous amount of knowledge of your life, of everything else, and you know that you can't say everything, and there are certain things that you want to say, and there's probably some things that you don't want to say, and it just fascinates me, that position you're in of what you're gonna say, and it interests me, the things you don't say interest me as much as the things you do say. Do you know what I mean? And not necessarily, they don't interest me necessarily because of what they are, they interest me because why you don't want to say them.